Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Immortals Fenyx Rising. And yes, that is the title of a video game, even though it just sounds like a jumble of words. Even if you understand that the main character's name is Phoenix, it still doesn't make that much sense. I much prefer the old placeholder title for this game, Gods and Monsters. That at least is pretty fitting for this world. The world itself takes place in ancient Greek mythology, so you can picture like all of the Greek gods. You got your Zeus, Prometheus, Hephaestus, I don't know. I can't remember any of these names. You think I would remember a lot of these gods' names because I had just played Hades not too long ago. I do like to see all these different takes of these Greek gods, but they all seem to have one universal theme of these gods just being really selfish and petty and just jerks to each other. But they all seem to have their own little quirks and design. So it was fun seeing how Immortals Fenyx Rising depicted all these ancient Greek gods. It also has all these old Greek mythology monsters like Cerberus, and you have griffins and Medusas and Hydras and everything you can picture when you think of the Disney's Hercules, like all those monsters that he fights. They're all here. The story is presented in a really unique and interesting fashion, where if you're not familiar with your Greek mythology, there is a god known as Prometheus, and he was known for giving the humans fire. And to punish him, Zeus didn't like that. He chained him up in this like frozen wasteland and has an eagle peck out his liver every single day. So that just is a little taste of the crazy Greek mythology that's going on here. But there is a titan called Typhon, and just like in Disney's Hercules, the stars aligned and this titan broke out, and now he's creating havoc. He basically has turned all the gods into these useless transformations. And so Zeus goes to Prometheus because Prometheus is really, really wise, and Prometheus is just like, well, okay, I'll tell you a story about this human named Phoenix, and she is basically going to save your butt. And then you go ahead and create your character Phoenix. And it's pretty interesting because as you're playing through the whole game, they set it up where Zeus and Prometheus are just commenting on what you are doing the whole time, because basically it's like whatever you're doing, Prometheus is telling Zeus that you are doing those things. So during the character creation, Zeus is just like, oh, okay, hold on, I'm trying to picture her right now. And you can actually have a pretty interesting character creation where anytime you would choose something, Zeus would be like, oh yeah, that would look good. Oh, blue eyes, yeah, definitely. So it just kind of sets up the whole scene of basically them narrating whatever you're planning on doing. It's pretty good too, because in most character creation games, your character doesn't have that much of a personal story, but I felt like they portrayed it in a really interesting way where your character is actually voice acted. You don't choose what your character says. You're actually following this main narrative rather than like choose your own story. And I typically prefer my narrative being curated for me rather than just me making my own. I really like how they did the story here. You basically have to go across this Greek island and you have to rescue these 4 different Greek gods. You have to help them find their essence in order to turn them back to their former glory. So this game gets compared a lot to Zelda Breath of the Wild, and while I do see the comparison, they definitely took a lot of inspiration from it. The main one being that you can climb on pretty much any surface just with a stamina meter that slowly depletes as you're climbing on it. I see a lot of the similarities, but I don't think it's a one-for-one copycat of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I definitely think it has its own identity. There's a lot more platforming to it, a lot more verticality. I like the wings a lot better than gliding with Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't know, I just think it kind of carved itself its own identity compared to just copying exactly what Zelda Breath of the Wild did. It even has its own type of humor for this game. Most games that I play through just have a doom and gloom, very grim, very serious tone. You just, it's the end of the world is at stake, so we don't have time to laugh and joke. But the tone of this is just very, very silly. Zeus is just always constantly cracking jokes and stuff. He's just this guy who loves to drink wine and is a partier, and he's not afraid to interrupt Prometheus's story for a quick joke. You learn a lot of Greek mythology through this way. As you explore this island, you'll see these like puzzles that you have to piece together that form like pictures, and Zeus and Prometheus will comment about the picture like, hey, oh, remember when Adonis got pierced by a boar? That was crazy, right? It's a refreshing tone to have this kind of humor. Even your main character, Phoenix, is always cracking jokes, and I made a female character, but you do have the option to create a male, so I will be referring to mine as her. And she just cracks jokes and is lighthearted, even though the end of the world is at stake, even though all the humans got turned into stone. I definitely appreciate this approach of the jokes, even though the jokes themselves didn't necessarily land with me. There's a lot of innuendo and a lot of, light swearing, so maybe it's not the best type of game for a younger child. I don't necessarily know who this might be for. I guess me, like kind of like that teen, or maybe that like immature at heart type of person would enjoy the humor of this game. The jokes didn't necessarily land with me, but I appreciate the humorous tone that it has going for it. I like the combat a lot. You have a light attack and a heavy axe attack. You have your dodges, where if you perfect dodge, time will slow down. That's another thing that they took from Zelda Breath of the Wild. You have like this parry that you can reflect projectiles back at the enemy. Lots of fun RPG upgrades here as well. As you progress through the game, you unlock these things called Coins of Charons, and you can use these coins to upgrade your guy. Like, you can earn new abilities, you can make it so you like climb and traverse easier. And then also, as you defeat enemies, you unlock these gems, these resources to upgrade your gear. You can get different light swords. You can get different heavy, strong axe attacks. There's different helms. There's different gear. Tons of different stuff that you can unlock if you explore through this game. It definitely is. It's just exciting to progress in this game and level up. You always feel like you are making progress in some way or another. Even if you're just roaming around the island doing menial tasks instead of doing the main story, you'd always feel like it was worthwhile, and it's always exciting to upgrade your character. Even if you get gear that you're not necessarily excited for, they have different aesthetics, so you can keep the gear stats that you want, but then you can change your character's armor and gear for gear that you have already previously unlocked. So even if it's not necessarily exciting gear, you just have that potential. You're constantly unlocking stuff, which is always exciting. In most open world games such as this, you typically climb up a tower, and then you reveal the area all around you, including all these different landmarks that you can explore. This kind of has that, where if you are exploring the island, there are a couple different towers. Like, you remove the fog from the map, but then you have to manually go through and pinpoint all of these different landmarks rather than them just already getting all revealed on your map. And from what I understand from my coworker, the PS5, he played this on the PlayStation 5, it will rumble with this haptic feedback that will tell you if you're moving your cursor around where a point of interest is. I was playing on the Switch Lite, however, which did not have any rumble whatsoever. Instead, the cursor will just warm, like it will light up brighter, whether you're hotter or colder to the points of interest. And I absolutely hated this. I would just move the cursor around randomly, just tapping that ZR button, trying to reveal as many points of interest as I possibly could. I would much rather just have it all revealed all at once, especially since I don't have any vibrations, no haptic feedbacks in order to tell me if I was if my cursor was near a point of interest or not. I get that it feels like, oh, I'm the one revealing these points of interest, but nah, it's just a hassle and it's annoying. But these points of interest have varying things. There's combat ones where you fight a bunch of guys before you can reveal a chest. There's tons of different puzzles that you can do. There's these portals that are basically to the underworld that are kind of similar to shrines in Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it's like its own secluded area that might be like a platforming challenge or a combat challenge. Lots of different variety, which always keeps things fresh and fun. Now, Ubisoft stuck their finger in the Immortals Fenyx Rising pie, and they just tried to take me away from the game as much as possible. It was really annoying because anytime I would pause, this pop-up would come up like, hey, Oh, you should sign up for Ubisoft Connect. It's awesome. Oh, let's just get your email going here. Oh, let's attach your credit card here, and you can make purchases in-game using your real money. They definitely wanted to really nickel and dime me for all this extra stuff, and it was pretty hard to ignore. So eventually I just did make a fake Ubisoft Connect account, and then it wouldn't bug me anytime I paused it, but just these little windows that would pop up like, oh, hey, we got a sale going on this awesome horse that you want to buy, or this awesome gear, you know, or hey, there's these challenges, this new weekly challenge that you can play if you want. I actually did like the challenges, not necessarily the Ubisoft Connect challenge side, but there are these achievement little billboard challenge things that you can do throughout the game, and you unlock rewards that way as well. So it's an additional little achievement thing to shoot for that you are incentivized to do. I just didn't like the Ubisoft Connect side of it, where it would rotate every, daily, and it would just give you this currency to go spend at the Ubisoft Connect store. It just totally broke the game for me and took me out of the moment. It was weird that the menus had a cursor as well. In normal console games, each selection is its own button input. In this one, it just has this cursor that you move around with the left stick in order to select things. It was just weird, I'm just not used to games like this that aren't on the PC side of things. Even the adjusting the controller sensitivity was weird, because you had to click and drag the slider however you wanted it. Just weird menu navigation. Now, how does this game run on the Nintendo Switch? Now, if you are familiar with this game, you know that it did drop on the current new consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. So it was interesting to see how this game ran on the Nintendo Switch. And visually, it would have some issues. Objects would pop in, during cutscenes and stuff. And it did have some longer loading times, but nothing too game-breaking. Even during the loading times themselves, you can play this little mini-game where you fly around and collect these little gem resources. Not too much of a factor here, but at least give you something to do during the load times themselves. Not, I just, during combat or anything like that, I didn't notice any frame rate drops or anything like that. I'm actually pretty impressed with how this game was ported to the Nintendo Switch. It ran pretty well. Granted, if I did play this game on the PS5 and then went back to this on the Nintendo Switch, I'm sure I would notice some definite drops in quality, but, no complaints here, really. Overall, it was just a fun game. I like the story. I like my own character that I created. I like hearing the narration between Zeus and Prometheus, and the combat's fun. It's just a nice, good package, and I really enjoyed it. I'm surprised more games haven't taken more inspiration from Breath of the Wild, because I think the formula just works. This game was just always exciting to play through, and there's a ton of content that I could still play through, even though I ran the credits. I was talking about Ubisoft Connect. They're always dropping all this DLC that I could buy if I wanted to. I don't think I'm at that place with this game at this point in time, because I have a huge backlog, but potentially you could be playing this game for a very, very long time and be entertained and excited to play it for a while. Surprisingly, I think I will give this game a 5 out of 5, and it's dropped in price enough that I would heartily recommend picking this game up for $20, or even the gold version that has all the DLC in it. Give that a try, because I see that dropping in price as well, and I can recommend it. I definitely think this game is worth it. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Immortals Fenyx Rising, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'll talk to you later. Bye!